Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and here we have the TRM Comet, the new TRM Comet, and I'm going to be giving you guys some feedback about it and what I think. Now, this was loaned in to me by Cue Ball, so shout out to Cue Ball. I do appreciate it, Chris. He's been a huge supporter and a great friend. So that also means I'm not going to be testing it and, you know, doing edge retention tests or anything like that, but I still want to give you my feedback after just handling it, you know, for a few days. Now, the TRM Comet is USA made, which we absolutely love. TRM has been an awesome small knife company that's been just hitting home run after home run, so shout out to them. Now, this is a super slim, sleek knife. It's definitely more of a gentleman's knife. It kind of reminds me of like a minnow or a small fish, but let's get into it. MAGNACUT steel, we'll talk about the HRC here in a second. Titanium scales with the carbon fiber overlays. Now, what's really cool is it has this beautiful micro milling. It is so well done. It almost feels like a soft file on the edges. It's just, man, it looks so good. You can see how the micro milling goes over the pivot and it blends right in. The edges have another direction micro milling all the way around. The whole thing has this beautiful micro milling that really stands out, and you can actually feel a lot in your hand in a good way. Like, it feels very, very good. Titanium milled backspacer and pocket clip. And then we have flipping action. So, before we go to that, steel liner lock. It does have some milling on the inside to bring down the weight, which it is very lightweight. But like I said, steel liner lock. And back to the action, it does have on the lighter side of a detent. However, it's also a detent that you can load up. So you can do the push button, you can do the light switch, and you're never gonna fail it when you know the detent strength, but it's also easy to fail if you want to because it is on the lighter side. So basically, you can snap it out every time and never get fatigued. You can flick this over and over and over and over, and your finger will never get fatigued. Even though this flipper tab looks a little bit pokey, it's not, because the detent is a little bit on the lighter side. Now, I have no doubt that you can't tune it a little bit stronger if you wanted to, considering it's a liner lock, but it's still good. You know, it's just, if you really like those super strong, crispy detents, this might not be up your alley, but if you like a nice, consistent, somewhat light detent, then this one's gonna be right up your alley. Now, the blade is a drop point blade with a beautiful stone washed finish. It has a thin blade stack, but it's not the thinnest geometry, but it should cut just fine considering what this is for, because this is going to be a pinch grip knife. It's not going to be a knife you're going to be breaking down your cardboard with. It is somewhat of a gent knife. Beautiful sharpening tool and plunge grind. They did end the plunge grind very far back, and you can also use that as a choke up spot if you wish. So you can kind of do the trigger pull over the flipper tab. Now, the titanium milled pocket clip does go in and out of the pocket just fine. On thicker jeans, it's going to be a little bit tough to get over the seam, but once it gets over, it'll be just fine. And, you know, it's not bad, just, you know, with thicker jeans, you know, it's a little bit tight going right underneath where, you know, where the clip starts. So before we talk about some negatives, I do want to say I do like it quite a bit. It is, like I said, a very gentlemanly knife, super slim, super sleek. It looks really good. Love the micro machining. Love that it's USA made. TRM does a phenomenal job. The action is super duper smooth. The access to the lock bar is phenomenal. I love that access. Easy to disengage. Very, very smooth on the drop. You could tell it is riding on bearings. Not fall shut, but it does have a light blade, but man, it is very, very smooth. So a lot to like here as far as if you like these slim, sleek gentleman knives. Now, let's talk about some nitpicks though, because I do have a couple. One, the clip in the hand, it was kind of a poor idea to put a milled titanium pocket clip like this on this knife, because it goes from thicker to slimmer, which usually I prefer knives to go from slimmer to thicker, but if it is going to go from thicker to slimmer, it's too slim back here to put a clip this tall. You see how tall it is? So you feel that big time in the hand. It's definitely pushing into my hand. So I don't really like that. I wish it was maybe more low profile, maybe a little bit flatter. But let's say you left the clip the way it is, you know, which would be just fine. Because like I said, you're not really going to be using the knife like this that often. You're going to be using it like this. So let's say you leave the clip the way it is. I wish it had the micro machining on it. It almost stands out like not like a sore thumb, but it's almost out of place. You see this is all silver, and, you know, and a beautiful silver micro milled, you know, look to it. Then this is kind of a yellowish hue that's just like a stone washed or a blasted finish, and I just think it's a little bit out of place. I wish it was micro milled or was the same color as the handle and the blade. However, I do like that they used it, the screw from the inside instead of on the outside, so that is nice. I'm not a big fan of T6s. We do have T6s. I believe this is a T10 or a T9. I'm not positive because I have not taken it apart. Or no, maybe it's a hex bit. I think it's a hex. Anyways, regardless, I haven't taken it apart. But T6s, I don't like that. I'd rather just see T8s. You know, I'd always prefer T8s. The next thing is, you know, like I said, the D10's a little bit on the lighter side, even though, you know, it's a reliable flipper. So that would be a little nitpick. The ergos, I already said, you know, because of the clip. The geometry, I kind of wish it was a little bit thinner of a grind. Now, the blade stock thickness is not thick or anything, but it just doesn't have far to go to get down to the cutting edge. They did put a nice edge angle on it, you know, so that it's going to be nice and sharp and cut fairly well. And it'll cut just fine. Let me be clear. It'll cut just fine. But I kind of wish it had a hollow or, you know, maybe just a little tiny bit slimmer. But it's fine. There's no problems with it. Now, the next thing is we said we talk about the HRC. So the HRC, I just want to be clear, this is not really a negative because what they did it is between 61 and 63, which is, you know, kind of a huge jump. You know, you have 3 points. Usually we hear between 2 points, like 61 to 62 or 63 to 64. Now the optimal range for a folding knife in MAGNACUT is 63 to 64. 63 to 64 is where MAGNACUT shines the most. You know, you're not trying to get a great amount of toughness. The steel's already tough. So with a little knife like this, and any folding knife, to be honest, you're not going to be needing the toughness from that steel. You're going to be wanting more edge retention. And the steel is already a tough steel, and even at 63 to 64, it's plenty tough. So 63 to 64 is where I prefer to see this steel. Now 61 to 63, I hope it's more towards the 63 side. We have done plenty of cut tests at this point, and we've seen, you know, like the difference between 61 and 63, and it is a huge difference. So, but I don't think that this one is bad because, one, you know, they're hopefully at least hitting 63. That's what I hope they are. But like, let's say it's at 61. Let's say if this one was 61. It's not a knife I'm going to be working with and expecting long-term edge retention, you know, just because, you know, it's going to be a gent knife. It's going to be something you're going to use very lightly. So, you know, it's hard for me to really complain about that too much just because, you know, I don't consider this a knife you're going to be doing heavy-duty cutting with. So it's fine, and it'll sharpen up just fine, or at least it should. I haven't sharpened it, so let me be clear. I haven't sharpened it or anything. But I'm going to guess that it'll sharpen up just fine, and it'll hold an edge just fine. But, you know, for the future, I'd love to see 63 to 64. Now, other than that, other than those things, this knife is pretty sweet. It is very slim, very sleek. It has a damn good look to it. I do hope in the future they make a bigger version of this. I'd love to see that, you know, like a full-size version, because, you know, like I said, it's so slim and compact. This can't be anything but a gent knife, but it is still very awesome. And, you know, it's cool seeing TRM kind of step out of their box a little bit. Not that they haven't done small knives in the past. This is the Holy Nerd from TRM with the titanium scales, and here is the TRM Neutron. So here we have the TRM Neutron, the TRM Comet, and the TRM Holy Nerd. You can see the size difference. So while this one's somewhat long, it's still pretty small. You know, it's not a full-size knife by no means. But they do have, you know, other knives that are full-size. So anyways, I think it's pretty awesome. I'm always happy to see what TRM has coming next, and, you know, I look forward to seeing what they have in the future. I'm always excited with anything they're doing, always excited. So hopefully we will see more of them on the channel. I know we will. We'll see more of them on the channel moving forward. Until next time, peace.